We are talking Miami football here on Mark Rogers TV with the Hurricanes and a Friday night edition of Miami football taking on Duke in a very important Coastal Division matchup between the Blue Devils and the Hurricanes. We talked to Isaiah Kim Martinez. He is the sports editor at the Miami Hurricane. Isaiah, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing just fine, and certainly want to make sure you and everyone else is okay, considering all the devastation down there. So your own personal situation and some of your friends and family, what's the status right now?
Yeah, well, with Irma, we were lucky enough that it ended up not being as impactful, thankfully, on this Miami area as we originally thought. Obviously, with Irma first coming, it looked like it was about to take a direct hit through the center, basically the way Florida looks to you, just like right through the center. But towards the last few days, it ended up going west a little bit. So me and my family, or my family and I personally, we actually went up north to Tennessee to visit some family during the time. Like a lot of people at Miami that I know, evacuating the situation, going home, whether it be up north, out west, just everyone trying to get up north, basically. But regardless, thankfully, even the people that were in Miami, there was some power loss to quite a few homes, millions of homes in Florida. And obviously that's never good. But for the most part, it was for a few days. So some power loss there, some trees, obviously there was some damage to the campus that they had to take 2 to 3 weeks to recover, mostly fallen trees all over to try to get the campus back up to speed. But other than the electricity and the trees, for the most part, we kind of dodged a bullet a little bit. The fact that it went west and we only got some wind gusts, even though they were powerful, we were able to kind of dodge the real wrath of Irma. But definitely it took, obviously, the campus some weeks to recover because, when you have palm trees falling all over the place, some serious damage can be done. So, as well as the football team, obviously. So a lot of people having to adjust to the situation.
We're talking Miami football with Isaiah Kim Martinez. He is the sports editor at Miami Hurricane. And you've got the real life situation, which the lives are the most important. And then to a lesser extent, but still important, the property damage, as you just discussed. And then we've got the football situation, which is just a matter of inconvenience. But when you play at a big-time program and you're expected to perform on the field and perform well and win games, there is pressure there. And suddenly you've geared up from last January all the way to the beginning of September to play football and be on schedule. And suddenly your lives are in upheaval. And to try to stay sharp, stay in shape, stay unified as a team. And obviously the coaching staff, I'm sure the administration was taking care of the personal situations there with the football team. But beyond that, any thoughts, anything you heard about the football team that kind of can give us an idea of what they had to face from a football standpoint, because they didn't play for 21 days?
Yeah, the football team, they organized the situation where originally they were going to kind of all stay in. Obviously, there's the ones that evacuated, and those that had to stay, they were going to do their best to stay in Miami, whether it be in their homes or wherever they had to go. But then athletics and Coach Richt and these guys came up with this idea to go to Orlando and to go to Universal specifically at first, and to take the players and take the athletes at Miami, not just football players. They actually took some players from other teams that really had nowhere to go during the time, and then as well as Blake James, Jennifer Strawley, some of the people in charge of in athletics, as well as Mark Richt and his wife. They decided to go to Orlando on the 7th of September, which was the Thursday of that week when the hurricane was approaching, a few days before it actually made landfall towards Miami. So they made the decision that it would be for a better interest for us, for our safety, for the players' safety, and for their overall well-being, depending on what would happen if we traveled north to Orlando. So they got some charter buses. Originally, there were 35 football players that were on that original bus with Mark Richt and the staff and everyone to go to Universal on the charter bus. So they rode up. It was about a 235-mile trip up to Orlando, which normally would take about 3.5 hours, but because of all the traffic, it took them about 10 hours, according to who I've been talking to. So you had some players, about 8 players were local in that situation, who lived around the area, and other ones just didn't necessarily have another place to go. Maybe they didn't want to go, but they ended up going to Universal, going to Orlando, and staying there for a while. And the plan was to stay there until the hurricane passed, and then hopefully come back to campus and go through the normal schedule again. But with all the damages, obviously school not starting for 2-3 weeks after for the undergraduate students, they weren't able to come back to practice. So they're like, why don't we get everyone else to come over here once obviously the hurricane, by Monday, Tuesday, it was pretty much winding down. People could travel. So why don't we stay here and get all the rest of the players to come here to this complex that they ended up playing at Orlando, called the ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex. Like, why don't we practice here? We're already here. We can have the other players come. It's a safe area. The facilities are really nice, and we don't have to worry about traveling back. We don't have to worry about what can we use and not use as far as equipment. So they decided to practice there in preparation for Toledo. So the following week, they tried to go through as normal of a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday process as they go through. Obviously having some light workouts over the weekend, lifting on Monday, practice Tuesday, Wednesday, available to the media, and then Thursday travel back and then get ready for the game on Saturday. So it was quite a crazy process for them. They had to go through a lot to be able to practice and flat out just go through a normal schedule. They were able to thankfully, eat and weight train on a normal schedule after they went up there, because obviously Orlando was in better shape. So it turned out okay, and obviously they were able to, although they looked a little winded, we can get to that a little later, but they ended up pulling out the win. So all in all, it worked out.
We're talking Miami football with Isaiah Kim Martinez. You can join him at Miami Hurricane. It's the flagship site for Miami football there on campus. He is the sports editor right there, and he's helped us out with Miami football in the past. And we're talking Duke with the Blue Devils coming in at 4-0. Miami winning that game against Toledo 52-30, trailing at half, Isaiah, 16-10 at points during the game. The defense was giving up chunks of yardage, especially through the air. 21 days off. You can understand the rust. We also kind of not targeted this game like it was a Florida State or Virginia Tech, but targeted as a sneaky, difficult game in amongst the other games. A MAC team that typically is one of the powers in that conference coming in. And so it was definitely a test for the Hurricanes. Your thoughts about what you saw and maybe some concerns heading into the Duke game?
Well, no surprise, Mark, conditioning was an issue, and you could see it primarily with the defense. We already knew that secondary was young, inexperienced, and flat out, it did not look like it was, how we are used to seeing them, even with the inexperience. It was just blown coverages. Pretty much the quarterback, who we already know, the quarterback for Toledo, Logan Woodside, is talented. He's shown that at the beginning of this season, but he was finding guys wide open, and it was strange to see for a Miami defense that has played so well. Pretty much the same defense, at least the front seven wise, very similar personnel as last year in some ways. So to just see them struggle in that way to stop the pass was definitely a little strange, but you could tell that it was because they were gassed. Coach Diaz said that they were going to be constantly rotating guys because these guys weren't used, because of the long break, weren't necessarily used to the grind that comes with these long games. So conditioning was definitely a problem. So they had to getting tired and switching guys out, and clearly they struggled in that first half. The offense honestly struggled as well. Malik Rozier wasn't necessarily hitting his targets. He only had, I believe, 50 yards passing at halftime, which for any quarterback is not ideal. Wasn't passing a whole lot, mainly because he wasn't really looking for many guys, because obviously Mark Walton was exploding in that first half. So he was really the only guy, I would say, in that first half for the Hurricanes team that really looked like themselves. It really looked normal, and he was just tearing up the Toledo defense. So he was the majority of that offense, but that defense could really not stop anyone. And then by the time Walton suffered the injury that kept him out for the remainder of that first half, not only did our defense struggle, but our offense looked kind of dead too. And Rozier was struggling to find his guys. So conditioning was really a problem in that first half. But then they said that Diaz at halftime told the players, wrote it on a whiteboard, said, "We are going to win this game." He wrote on the whiteboard, had the players all look at it. He basically said, no matter what's going on right now, we're going to win this ball game. and they came out in the second half. Defense still had some moments where you could tell some blown coverages here and there, but the energy-wise, they looked more into it. Rozier began to hit his targets, and thankfully Mark Walton, he came back and closed out the game strong. So really my takeaway was just 21 like you said, 21 days off without a game, 10 days off at one point without any type of practice. That first half is going to be rough for most teams, even the best teams in the country. You could name Clemson, Alabama, I'm sure would have similar issues. But that second half, I thought that fans could see more of the usual Hurricane team that they're used to, and that's why they pulled it out.
And such an odd game for Mark Walton. You typically don't have your career best game when you hurt your ankle and you only carry the ball 11 times, but he rushed for 204 yards, very explosive plays.
Yeah. Out for 2 quarters, basically, and still was able to be one of 5 Miami players in history to break that 200 mark. So, I mean, it's quite the record to beat.
Also, 28 career touchdowns for Mark Walton in just 28 collegiate games. Not a whole lot of guys running around out there in collegiate football that average 1 touchdown per game at the running back position. So it's Duke, it's Miami, it's basically for College Football Nation, it's your Friday night. If you want to watch the most important game going on, it's for the Coastal Division leadership and a very early season look at who could be the front runner there. Of course, Virginia Tech, I'm sure, is going to have a say. But your thoughts about Duke and Miami's preparation for the Blue Devils? Daniel Jones, a very hot quarterback, a very hot team, a team that a couple of weeks ago dismantled a Northwestern team that we expected to be a fringe top 25 team coming off a bowl win, and they just completely ran away from the Wildcats, and they got a win against North Carolina. Not supposed to be a great team, but North Carolina's decent, coming off a 30-point win against Old Dominion, and they took out the Tar Heels, and they're sitting at 4-0.
Yeah, the Blue Devils, to be honest, these past 4 games early in the season, they proved that they mean business and that they're not just a basketball school, and that they're gonna make some noise in the ACC and, like you said, in the Coastal. So when it comes to Duke, I mean, obviously we have the history, and that's been talked about, playing there a couple of years back, which funny because Rozier, that was his only start prior to this season. Between his game, he played a good game, but between he was down, he wasn't down, 8 laterals, refs getting suspended. There's a lot of history there, so I think that honestly adds a lot of energy to the game in itself, and what's obviously coming at the cost for this type of game where these 2 teams are fighting for that division. So I think Duke has impressed. I think that they've shown that team that's definitely up there, especially with North UNC losing their quarterback last year. So they've kind of taken the reins in that state as of right now. So when it comes to Miami, I think when you're a team like them, I think it's more working on their game plan more than Duke. I don't think they're as worried about how do we necessarily work for all these weapons that they have. I think it's more if we play our game plan. Coaches say it all the time. This is a team that, I mean, I truly believe, and most people would as well, that the Canes are just more talented than. So if they pull out their game plan and they execute, it shouldn't be a huge problem for them. I think they should be able to pull it out.
Miami at Duke, Friday night, ESPN, 7 o'clock Eastern time. We're joined by Isaiah Kim Martinez. He joins us as the sports editor from the Miami Hurricane. It's the on-campus site for Miami athletics and Miami football in particular. Isaiah, we appreciate the time. Stop by anytime to talk Miami football with us.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you, Mark.